The opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Invisible Wounds or Wightman. Please be aware that the content of Fireside Chats with Deborah may contain sensitive subjects such as suicide, grief, violence, PTSD, and other mental health conditions. By discussing these subjects, we will decrease stigma, bring awareness, and hope. If you need support, please reach out to trusted contacts, family, friends, call your doctor, or go to the closest emergency department. Call helplines such as Boots on the Ground at 1-833-677-BOOT. We hope this series helps build self-confidence in you. On today's show, Carmen Theobald, founder and director, Horse Sense North. Fireside Chats with Deborah is sponsored by Leslie Motors of Hairston, Walkerton, and Wingham. Visit lesliemotors.com to learn more. And by
flipping this narrative, starting to think about the real energetic, metabolic, biological cost of not taking care of ourselves, I think is really important. And thinking about it as facilitating performance versus competing with performance, I think is sort of the next wave of optimizing human potential.
Welcome to Fireside Chats. It's my pleasure today to introduce Carmen Theobald, who's driven all the way from just around Huntsville, is that correct?
A little bit northwest of Huntsville.
Okay.
Yeah.
Carmen, why don't you begin by just letting folks know why you came here?
Well, I came because you invited me, and I was so grateful for the invitation because I'm familiar with some of the work that you do with Invisible Wounds. I find it incredibly inspiring, important, and helpful. So to have an opportunity to chat with you and serve your community in whatever way I can, it was a pleasure.
Oh, well, thank you for that. Would you please tell the folks what it is that you do? Because I just learned that you do more than I expected. So enlighten the audience, please.
Sure. So I'm the founder and director of Horse Sense North. And we offer personal growth, leadership, and team development, and we do quite a bit of trauma recovery with some horse sense. And so sometimes that means actually being on our farm, which is in the Berks Falls, Magnetawan area, the traditional territory of the Anishinaabeg and Mississauga nations. And sometimes that's actually directly with the horses on our farm. So we're doing non-ridden horse experiences for people to grow and heal and learn more about themselves, relationship in pretty transformational ways. And sometimes horse sense means not actually being directly with the horses. It's in kind of horse-inspired materials, frameworks. Sometimes I do some public speaking. I do leadership development and wellness experiences, workshops, even away from the farm, but always with that kind of horse-inspired, nature-inspired piece.
Interesting. because one of the things that we always focus on is first responders, and in fact it was a first responder who suggested that you come on the show. Should we acknowledge that individual?
Sure. I don't know if they want to be named or any of that.
First name.
Okay, yes, I would love that. So Tracy, I am such a fan and grateful person to her. She linked us up because we run a first responder program at Horse Sense North called Above and Beyond. And although we work with people from all walks of life at this time, I really am most passionate about serving those who serve others. And I'm alive today because of first responders. And so it's been really important to me in my journey of doing the work we do with Horse Sense North and in my personal life with horses that I found a way to come back to this community in particular and create something specifically for them because of so many reasons, personally and also just being a person in this world. Really valuing what they offer to our communities and to what it means to be human. And I just really love being able to run our Above and Beyond programs that are really focused on trauma recovery and wellness without having to go into the trauma talk, without having to go into the story, but really being able to get back into our body, feel more empowered and whole again. Which I think, you know, although I'm not a first responder myself, I have my own traumatic experiences that I'm coming from. And I know how important that process can be. And the horses, I just think, are the best teachers to help us do that.
Interesting. Now, if I recall correctly, on your website, there actually is a video clip about that program, which actually first responders are in it. Like they've given consent to participate, which I think speaks volumes. For them to do that type of personal and professional disclosure, and also to the department that they're working for. So that's really great.
I think there's a very narrow way of thinking about recovery and recovery from PTSD and all the things that can affect first responders. And I fell into that hole of the only thing that can help me is therapy and medication. I had no idea that there was this other world, meaning Horse Sense North out there, that could bring me such life, such connection. And it was so visceral.
When they approached me with that program, with Above and Beyond, again, I was like, wow, thing with horses, shoveling clouds and rainbows and whatever. And I was more into traditional ways. I was like, oh, I'm going to speak to the therapist and I'm going to do this and I'm going to cope on my own. And I decided to give a shot. That's what I said to the sergeant in question that approached me with the program. I was like, okay, I'll give a shot. Best decision I've ever made. In my entire life, this is the best decision I could make. Ever.
The value in the Above and Beyond program overflows into your everyday life. And the tools that Carmen and the herd at Horse Sense North give you are invaluable. I use them every day.
Working with horses is something that I've come to learn has immeasurable value. To stand there peacefully and quietly, brushing them, talking to them, just having them stare at you, it brings your mind to a different place. It helps settle you. The horses don't judge you. They don't criticize you. They just are there with you. They accept you for who you are right now. And I think a program that allows people that opportunity is unique, and they'll never experience that anywhere else. You won't get that in therapy. You won't get that in critical incident sessions. You won't get that in an office setting with mental health professionals.
it's something special with horses. You have to live it to understand it.
For me, Horse Sense North is a safe place, and I think that was a huge thing for me when I came here, was that I wanted to have a spot where I felt comfortable and that I could express myself how I wanted to, when I wanted to, and Carmen made that possible.
Carmen's ability to want to give back to the very group of people that saved her life. This program, the Above and Beyond program, in itself, the way I look at it, that Carmen's already saved a life. She saved my life. I can't express enough of how valuable this Above and Beyond program is. It should be readily available. It's the glue. Above and Beyond is literally the glue that holds us together in this world, in this job that we do.
You feel safe. You can talk, you can feel the way you need to feel, and that's fine. There's no pressure. It's almost a relief. Makes things so much lighter. It's like the uniform wears off.
To be in a spot where with people that I didn't know and feel as comfortable is rare. It blew the stigma out of the way for me.
In a professional level, it takes, in my experience, it has taken years to see the changes that I've seen take place in a matter of weeks. As a therapist, I'm constantly asking myself and my client, what's the path to healing? How do we get there? What's this going to look like? What can we bring along for the ride? So how do we heal is what this program answers. And it provides us with all of the tools and the knowledge and the practical application for how we can start to heal ourselves, right? Within the context of the herd, within the context of our family, within the context of our work, we can heal.
The most important parts of this program is really to realize that I'm not the only one. Because again, the alpha type kicks in. I got this, I got that. No, I don't. No, I don't, and I'm not the only one, that's fine. What I learn, and I'm always learning from the program, well, I apply it every day now.
What Grace did for me in a matter of hours does not compare to the time I've spent in therapy. Doesn't compare. I've never felt more understood. I've never felt more connected. I don't know of a time that I've ever felt as moved.
The program will definitely help me to stay longer. In my trade field of work as a police officer, now I can see more myself doing this for 30 years, maybe more.
Coming here to this program Above and Beyond at Horse Sense North truly has changed my life. Even my family members have noticed it. But what's interesting is that I also feel that some of my animals have noticed it as well. There's just more of a calmness.
It's so helpful in day-to-day life, as a parent, as a husband, but even more so in policing, because you have to transition between, a caregiver to, you have to arrest somebody. So it's so, and in all first responding, it's so relatable.
part of nourishing your soul and working through trauma, nutrition has so much to do with it. The highlight of lunch hour is definitely lunch, when Carmen says, "Yay, it's lunchtime." It's like, you wonder what Aquila has made for us today.
I looked forward to it coming and the smell, but also I always looked forward to his explanation of the food, because he's so passionate about the food. So I'd be like, "All right, what are we eating today, man?" And he would just go off on this tear with such happiness and such joy and expression of talking to the ingredients and the process. It just really, it made the experience more homey and comfortable.
It's really important for me to be able to nourish our participants right from the land where we're working. I love going out and harvesting ingredients that I know are really wholesome and really healthy. And preparing delicious food for people is always a great way to connect.
Food is cleansing, and you've got, like Horse Sense North has it all, just everything. Transitioning
to the online portion, you have that connection now with these other group members. You look forward to those weekly meetings.
Everything that we see in the program and we touch base on, and keep in touch weekly basis on Zoom with the people from the program, from the group we are into. I've never heard about that. Never. That's the first time, and I was actually not shocked, but impressed, because the results are there. The beauty of being online and being committed to the other people that are in your group, you want to make sure that you're supporting yourself. You want to make sure that you're supporting them. And even now, after that, the 7 weeks, I'm still going to keep in touch with the other people from the group.
I know that we will continue, the participants will continue to reach out to each other. It's like, I really do, I've got your 6.
Like, the connections are much deeper. It's something that, it's not just, hey, how are you, kind of text messaging randomly. It's something that I feel like I'm going to stay connected with everyone that have been involved with this program.
This program needs to succeed. It needs to succeed and continue on.
It's just going to be so beneficial for so many people, I think. And whether it's somebody who's dealing with PTSD, or somebody who maybe wants a leadership role, or wants to take, or maybe they're transitioning to a new position at work. Like, it's so applicable to first responders' lifestyles.
This program, Above and Beyond, is so connected to my heart that I would absolutely love to see everybody be able to access it. Every single one of us, where the rubber meets the road, where it just everybody.
I cannot speak for everybody, but I very do believe that there's people out there, colleagues, because they're all colleagues for me, that they do suffer, and you don't have to suffer. This program can be a game changer, and I strongly believe that this can save lives in all sense.
Full disclosure, I have been suicidal in the past. I'm thanks to a lot of different things, and especially Horse Sense North, I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like I have purpose in my life, and Horse Sense North was a big part of that. So to all my brothers and sisters who are lacking hope and joy, and are just at the end of their rope and feel like dying is the only way, if you could just please pick up the phone and do this one thing, which is to open your heart for a moment to Horse Sense North and what they have to offer, and take a minute to breathe and let this deep connection happen to you up there at Horse Sense North. Just do it. Just try it. There's no reason why our careers that we've given our lives to should end our life.
My hopes for Above and Beyond are that any first responder that can get here. You know, that the barriers are removed, whether they're financial, geographical, whatever they are, that those barriers are removed so that the healing can begin.
Right. Did you want to disclose anything about your past history, about how you got into working with traumatized individuals? You mentioned that you've got lived experience.
Yeah, I would love to, and I think it's important to talk about this piece because I think perhaps for some first responders or military or public safety personnel who might be watching, there's an understandable curiosity, skepticism, and even, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? A concern, perhaps, for people who want to get into the field of supporting first responders without being one themselves or having a close family member. And so it's really important that I share this story. So thank you. So I grew up in Montreal, and I was studying social services at Dawson College, which I was loving. It was a major change for me. I had always wanted to work with animals, to be honest. And then I left that path behind, but I got into social services, and it was like it was articulating what I had always kind of known as a gut feeling to be true about people, relationships, giving vocabulary and expression to a lot of what made sense to me and helped me really consider what's an alternative path. If this part of being human is so unhealthy, what could be healthy? During my time there was a school shooting that took place. And I ended up being in a classroom for 45 minutes, truly believing that I was going to die, listening to the shooter getting closer and closer to where we were. I would not be here today if it weren't for the incredible collaboration, bravery, hard work of all the first responders, police in particular, who saved me that day and escorted my classmates and I secretly and silently to a position of safety. And I went from a moment truly believing that that was the end point to feeling the sunshine on my face and asking myself, well, if I get to be alive, what does that mean? What can I do with this life? And so I think that moment kind of shook me up and woke me up to a different way of being in my life, which added a lot more courage earlier on than I would have had that not happened. Yeah. So skip a few, many years later, it's so important to me to give back to this community that I've had many experiences with in my life, not just this one, but that moment in particular, I just really want to give back.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing that. And yeah, very traumatic, and the fact that you're here now and gone through at least some of your journey of recovery is powerful. And the fact that you're able to, you articulate very well, I must say. And so the message that you're conveying to others, and not just first responders, is significant, impactful, and I want to thank you for that. Okay. If we can switch it over a little bit about the farm. How many acres, how many horses? If I come, do I get to touch them? I don't know about equine therapy a lot, so if you could explain a little bit of what maybe a day would look like, or just how it works.
I'd love to. So our first responder program, just to put this in context, it's a 5-day program, but people do come for individual sessions, 1-day workshops, 2-day workshops. There's a lot of flexibility in how that can look. The farm itself is 88 acres, and we're on a dead-end road in an incredibly beautiful part of this world. We have 5 horses on the farm. They truly are work partners not ever tools. So there's always a very mutually respectful, consent-based relationship that is both personal and professional for us and the horses. The horses that we work with are really partners. It's a very consent-based, mutually respectful relationship. Right. And so that shows up in how we work with people, that the horses are the ones choosing who gets to work with us in that moment. So it's not, if you were to come to the farm, for example, and you see the herd of horses, which would probably be part of the session or the day, to have a walk around the farm, to kind of see which horses kind of speak to you from across the fence, kind of touch your heart, if you will. But that doesn't mean that you're going to be the one choosing, I want to work with this horse. They're going to be kind of volunteering to say, I want to work with this person or with this group. They always seem to have intention around who is showing up for who in that moment. And of the hundreds of individuals who we've had at the farm, I have never once seen it not be perfect in exactly the way it's supposed to be. So just like therapy, there's lots of different modalities, and just same thing with horse work. There are many different kinds of therapeutic modalities that we can do with horses. Some people have horses on a lead rope, some people are riding, some people are without any halters or any lead ropes, it's free. And that's the kind of work that we do. So the horses are at liberty. We have them in, we have an arena, so it's a building that's large. It has a large round enclosure inside, and that allows the person and the horse to be in there together, really able to express themselves authentically, both person and horse. So if the horse wants to be near us, great. If they're walking away from us, even though that can be hard for some people in certain moments, it's also great, because it's always an opportunity to learn more about what's happening inside, reflect a little bit more deeply, practice different kinds of regulation tools, getting to know ourselves with these incredibly honest and kind beings who are so ready to shift gears as soon as we're willing to show up. But when we're showing up with a mask on, when we're showing up with that armor on, they feel that, they sense that. We might be so fantastic at putting that mask onto the world, no one would have any idea. But a horse knows exactly what's going on. So they're not judging us for that. They're just really authentically saying, I'm waiting till I can actually feel you. And when I can actually feel you, that's when they're going to respond to us differently.
It's pretty amazing. I just wanted to ask you, you said you went to university, and did you get a degree?
No, I ended up leaving after the school shooting. I finished my year, but I decided that I really needed to be away from the city. Right. I needed to be away from people, and that included my education, unfortunately.
Oh, that's fine. So then with equine therapy, or is that, like, is it a course you take, or is it something you developed on your own, or?
Both. So I jokingly say, instead of getting a degree and PhD in something connected to people, I got a PhD in horses, just unofficially, by working with thousands of horses. So before I got into being a coach and facilitator for this work, I got an apprenticeship as a farrier. So I left Montreal, leaving the world of humans behind, and I went to work on a farm in exchange for room and board. And on this farm, there were 24 horses, and I was a fish out of water. I knew nothing. But I was totally obsessed with them. I was enamored, really. Even though I was really intimidated, I didn't know what was going on. A lot of the horses at this particular farm were, frankly, kind of dangerous. But it was like trial by fire, learn quick. And what that allowed, that opportunity opened the door to me getting an apprenticeship as a farrier. And that's someone who takes care of horses' feet. So people call it a blacksmith. So I've worked for the last 16 years with horses in a very intensive way, where I'm kind of like a podiatrist for horses, or an unofficial foot doctor for horses, trimming them, putting shoes on. And I think this is important to mention, because working with horses in this kind of capacity, horses are so much like we are, and so many of them are coming from traumatic backgrounds. So many of them are coming from this place of feeling unsafe, unseen, unheard, and that can make it really dangerous for me to do my job, not only is it very physically demanding, but you pair that with horses who really don't want to cooperate for whatever valid reasons they have, pain, stress, trauma. Now my job gets even more risky. So the most important tool in my toolbox was very clear to me, even if it took a long time and is a lifelong journey, of how to develop healthy relationship with them. And that means ultimately learning how to develop healthy relationship with myself. And so that journey with the horses in that kind of capacity led me back around to the world of people, kind of like a horseshoe, all the puns intended, you know? And I went to Arizona and over the course of 2 years became an advanced instructor for this particular kind of work that I do, and got various other certifications to bolster that, working with people and psychologists who specialize in extreme trauma and supporting people with horses for that particular experience. So that's really the roots of where I'm coming from in this work, very heavily rooted in polyvagal theory, so understanding our nervous system, understanding the nervous system of the horses, and a lot of neat research that I got to be part of to look at how we affect each other that way. And so all of that gets combined with my personal experience working with so many horses and my own personal background as being a human, and combining it into the programs that we run.
Oh, like, wow. Very interesting. When you say that people can come for a 5-day program, how do they get in? Is it a self-referral, a doctor's referral?
It's self-referral. We have other people who have been referred by their doctor, by their therapist, by their case manager. Unfortunately, we don't have it covered by insurance or funding from any kind of reliable source right now. So it's just kind of one program at a time. As we get funding for it, then we run another one. If people want to apply and be put on the wait list, then they can head over to our website, and under what we offer, there's the Above and Beyond program for public safety personnel. And that gives information. There's the video that you were mentioning that has those incredibly courageous and deeply moving testimonials from the individuals who have some individuals who have attended. We've run 6 programs so far, and we look forward to running many, many more. So right now we're kind of between funding streams, but we are always putting efforts into getting the next program running, and I'm sure we'll have it running soon.
So when you talk about funding, are you right now totally dependent on registration numbers in order to do a program?
We actually have a wait list right now of 16 people. So we're not really dependent on how many people we have on the wait list or registration numbers. It's more finding sources to actually fund us. So the last 6 programs have been funded partly by us, partly by a nonprofit and a charity that have supported us. So the Heroes Equine Learning Program was a wonderful charity that supported the last 4. And unfortunately, this wonderful charity based in Ottawa, it was the remainder of their funds. They're now closed. So they were really excited to kind of give us a boost as they were closing down, and so now we're exploring other options to keep the program going.
So you have to write grants.
We're writing grants all the time. We're knocking on doors all the time. We're doing all the things to do our best to make it possible, and we will.
So the registration, is there a set fee though that will assist with?
Oh, a fee for the individual signing up? No. With a caveat, there's a $150 program deposit. So to kind of secure the spot when the spot becomes available, that's when we ask for the deposit to make sure like you're actually going to show up. But to sign up to apply for the program, there's no fee, and other than that, $150, there's nothing.
Oh, have you ever considered working with their like wellness unit or anything like that?
We're trying. We are doing our best to make that possible. Equine therapy and this kind of program, it's an unregulated field. So although we partner with mental health professionals, we have a therapist present for every program that we run, it's still in this kind of gray zone that makes a lot of more like the bigger system and organizational funding streams at this time inaccessible to us. I hope that that changes over time. We're doing our best to make that possible, but it is tricky.
Yeah, I think it's if I know this, for example, some police departments will give X amount of dollars to their employees so they don't have to do embedded or with their wellness unit. And And I think that those people can use those funds for anything, but I'm not sure. I have to look into that.
Yeah, that'd be great to figure out with people. And it would be great to allow those funds to be used in however ways they wished, with our program actually being properly funded too. So however it works out, I do totally believe that we will be running more programs over time. We are so committed to serving everyone who's on that wait list and everyone else to come. And, you know, I think that the horse work too, one of the nice things, even though it makes it difficult for funding, is that it's not super clinical. So yes, we're coming from a clinical lens. Yes, we're coming from a background of really understanding deeply about trauma and healing and making it a safe environment. The experience itself is not like being in a clinical setting for the participants. And time and time again, that's the feedback that we get, is what a relief it is for people to have such a healing space that doesn't make them feel like they're in the therapist office, that actually doesn't ask them to go into the trauma story or hear other people's trauma stories, and yet have some of the most effective, efficient form of healing that they've ever experienced before. And I really give that credit to the horses, because I think they just cut through all the human BS, so to speak, and go straight to the heart. And I think that's what we really need, not only as humans, but if I may say, especially in the first responder, public safety personnel, and military world, because there's so much regulation, there's so much structure, there's so much of that, which can really, for many people, contribute to the stress and trauma. Right. And so to be in a space where that's really out the window, still creating a safe container, but it's really about what's happening in the body, with teachers being the horses who don't adhere to any of the old rules. They're just about what's happening here and now inside.
Lovely. Just a couple of questions. If someone's coming for the 5-day program, accommodations are off-site?
They are off-site. We have a long-term vision of having accommodations on the farm that would also give us a chance to feed people all their meals. Right now my partner is a chef and caterer, Aquila, and he makes lunches for people, and I swear he's everyone's favorite person by the end of the program. Most of it is farm to table, and he not only cooks healthy and nutritious food, but so delicious and really easy to accommodate any kind of food restrictions. And so eventually we'd love for that to be the full experience. At this time, we have a wonderful partnership with the Huntsville Comfort Inn. And of course, people can choose to stay elsewhere if they decide to do that. But it is a nice spot. They give our clients much heavily reduced rate, and there's some nice dinner options there too.
Lovely. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything that you would like to say, recognizing that you're on TV, that it's going to be broadcast in a lot of different areas, to either the first responders, to their family members, to civilians, because you also deal with civilians, right? Not deal with, that's not the right word. It's a clinical word. The support, civilians. So that would be one part of it. But for any organization that might be, or anybody who's in an organization that kind of tweaking right now, hey, maybe that's something we'd like to at least look at, come go see, maybe support. You want to do a shout out for those?
Yeah, I'd love to. Do I have time to share a quick story before going into that? So I just want to share this quick story before I answer that, because I think it's going to give some context to what I'm going to share after that. One of the horses who we had on the farm, she was actually the first horse who came into my life in a kind of relational way that was long-term. I took her into my family, so to speak. She grew up in the RCMP. She was part of the RCMP musical ride program. Now, for some, that seems like a really beautiful program. But what was very clear taking her in was that it was actually a very traumatic environment for her, which I think is very relatable for people coming from various first responder backgrounds. And she ended up going from a horse that was labeled as dangerous, the witch. She was very aggressive with people. And she did so many cycles of her own healing and growth that she turned into the most rock-solid therapy partner I could have ever imagined. Really? She was really a matriarch of the herd of horses, but also the herd of people, not just us who live there, but of all the groups who came through the farm. And she worked with many people, individuals, and first responders before we had the program. But when we ran the first responder program and military program at the farm, I was aware that it might be a difficult energy for her, reminding her of her past. But what happened is that she wanted to work with this population more than anyone else who had ever showed up. And I can say that confidently because of kind of what we chatted about. The horses are volunteering to show up. And she was not just volunteering, she was insisting.
Oh, really?
And I just loved seeing how not only she would show up with such grace, ironically her name was Grace, but the people working with her, having these shared experiences of organizational trauma, of sanctuary trauma, accompanying anything else that they were struggling with, to see how much she was able to overcome and actually show up in a way of service in a very healing form gave so much hope and inspiration. Now, Grace is no longer with us. She passed away last year. But I wanted to talk about her because not only did she kind of infuse that energy into everything we're doing, she really infused so much hope. And so when you're kind of asking for final remarks and things that we're doing, I just think so much about her. So one of the things that I think made her such a masterful partner in this work is how she was able to step into different forms of leadership, both with others and with herself, even in her own healing journey. So I wanted to share that because it's a big part of what we do. We have a framework for leadership that is really powerful and horse-inspired that we walk people through during the program, but it's really about self-leadership as a way toward healing, like leading ourselves to wellness. It's also a framework that kind of from that different lens, we offer many times to organizations and teams for leadership with others. Same roles, it's all about these 5 different roles, but just from that kind of different perspective shift. And so really, can we become more graceful and healthy in the ways that we shift roles in leadership, not you and I, but within the self, whether we're interacting with others or inwardly. So I think that's one of the things that horses are really so great at teaching us, whether it's Grace as really this master teacher or any of the horses who are truly masters compared to us as humans. How can we step into healthy forms of leadership? And that is definitely something I love providing, both for our wellness and trauma recovery programming, as well as upstream, working with individuals and teams and organizations to become a little more horse-like, because I think as humans, we can all benefit. It gives me tremendous joy to create a space where others can feel safe enough to step into the wholeness of who they are, to share with the horse, maybe not even with any words, but just what's truly happening for them. Just really witnessing the transformations that consistently happen in front of my eyes feels like an incredible honor and privilege. We do a lot of work with first responders, people who are struggling with trauma in different ways, shapes, and forms, but also people who are just looking to have a little bit more sense of aliveness, not necessarily coming from any massive traumatic event, but just wanting to really connect more deeply with themselves and step into leadership more wholeheartedly.
I'm ex-military, like a military veteran. I was in for 20 years. And so with that always comes a little bit of trauma. So my PTSD was at a pretty big high. My depression was at a pretty big low. I was having trouble with my family, with my kids, just kind of looking for a safe spot to go. Allison and I had a very strained relationship. Very teenage daughter, strict mom. She wasn't going to school anymore. She was so inside of herself. And I was just really super worried about her. I was at a point as a mother that I don't know what to do to help her anymore. So the first couple of times we were here, she stood off to the side, didn't really want anything to do besides to look at the horses. And then she decided to open up a bit more out here, and just over the time it kind of built up. So she's an amazing person to begin with, but she's showing it now. She's allowing herself to experience feelings again, I guess, is like the biggest thing.
The horses are absolutely part of the family. There are team members, there are partners. We really work closely with them and have a tremendous amount of trust in what they're telling us. They really have their full choice and voice in how they're interacting with us in the work that we do. And that allows for the most honest and authentic responses.
I've never been around horses where they're helping you. And then when I got here, it was like a huge eye-opener that just standing there and being calm and being present and in the moment with them, how much it can take you from like super high stress to being able to breathe again.
It's such a gift to be able to kind of be a bridge builder between the worlds of horses and people now, where my partner offers us incredible farm-to-table meals. He's our chef and caterer and also our amazing horse handler.
A big piece of what we offer here is feeding beautiful, wholesome, healthy food. People feeling so nourished by the food, by the service and the hospitality. I love and appreciate being able to share that with others.
We're so grateful to be part of Almaguin and be a business owner here, and also really understand the depth and history of what it truly means to live in this magical and beautiful place. I think it's really important to mention that we're on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabeg and Mississauga nations. All of us here at Horse Sense North take that really seriously, and we're doing our best to not only take that deeply into our heart, but also turn that into action. We're incredibly fortunate to be able to have our workshops and programs and sessions be in such a private, protected space. And I think that the nature aspect and that sense of being really secluded here adds so much to the work, because people can really lean into what they're experiencing and not worry that someone's going to come popping over and saying hello.
If you were to look back, I don't know where I'd be right now. I don't know where my family would be. I don't know where my daughter would be if it hadn't been for this like little moment when we decided to take a side trip to see some horses on the front. And to know that the change that's come from here has been driven by love and friendship and letting those barriers down.
We just feel so grateful to have the opportunity to have this protected space for people to come more into the wholeness of who they are, to step more into themselves so that they can step into their life with more confidence, with more clarity, with more courage.
One of the things that you had mentioned is that you actually you're a keynote speaker at various organizations or presentations, conferences. And I'm just wondering then, do you actually talk about the leadership piece and how an organizational structure can be part of their employees developing sanctuary trauma or moral trauma, that type of thing?
Yes, and so I definitely talk about that depending on the purpose of the speech or the event. The actual training and the leadership model, that's more of the training that people hire me to come in and give. But I think that there's so many through lines as far as the intention and the reason why I do this work in the first place, and really what I'm trying to be a good student of the horses with. So that's always part of the talks that I give, is some of that horse inspired, some of that horse sense, so that we can be living as humans, whether it's personally or professionally, with a little bit more horse sense.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. Yeah. And then if you could go on and if there's anything you wanted to say to any individuals watching or to any organizations?
I think To everyone and anyone who might be listening in, the main thing I want to say is that over and over and over again, I have seen people and horses be in such a difficult place where it seems like hope is lost. And I really just want to communicate that hope is never fully lost, and that we can always come through to another layer of healing and find the support, even if it feels like it's nowhere in sight, that it really can be there, and we can heal.
Very important message. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being here today. Quite the distance for you to drive. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Deborah.
Yes, thank you.
There's something really healing about simply being on the land, breathing the fresh air and soaking up the natural environment. And when we do get to be with the horses, it's truly transformational. Horses are the best teachers I've ever come across. They help us learn how to be better humans. Learning how to interact with these majestic, powerful beings in a healthy way also teaches us to be in healthy relationship with ourselves. Horses act as honest mirrors for who we truly are, without judgment. They present us with an opportunity, an invitation to step into who we are, to use our power with kindness and an open heart. It's a great joy for me to provide protected spaces here at Horse Sense North, a place for us to explore and develop more horse sense, helping us add more clarity, connection, and courage to every aspect of our lives.
Welcome. To begin, sit comfortably in a chair or lie on the floor. Place one hand on your stomach and the other hand on your chest. Gently close your eyes and bring your awareness to your breath. Take note of the pattern of movement of your two hands. As you breathe in and breathe out, does one hand move more than the other? Now take a slow, deep breath in through your nose. Exhale fully through your mouth so that you feel your lower hand moving inwards. Relax your shoulders. Loosen your jaw. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Continue to breathe in deeply and exhale fully, focusing on your breath. As you inhale, focus on moving your hand outwards on your stomach. As you exhale, focus on moving your hand inwards on your stomach. Feel your lower back pressing into the back of your chair or towards the floor. When you're ready, slowly open your eyes. Take one last inhale in and exhale. Notice how you feel. Thank yourself for taking time out of your day to practice self-care.
Invisible Wounds will host events promoting mental wellness to first responders, their families, and civilians. To find out more, please visit our website at invisible-wounds.ca.